You two people, my goodness. Some of you all go outside and touch some grass. Uh Wild stuff right now in the old sports card world. Um the Skenes debut patch might just break the hobby's mind. Friday was a whirlwind on social comment sections, on Twitter posts and IG posts and YouTube video. I mean, my goodness gracious. We're going to walk through the timeline of this real quick and then just kind of have a little bit of a discussion. I'm all for a little tinfoil hat every now and again, but I think sometimes we go a little too far. And this might be one of those extreme. And I get it. Listen, you lay out the stuff and it just lines up real nice, for a conspiracy. Like it's laid out on a they set out the conspiracy buffet for the hobby to go after. But let's kind of talk about this thing real quick. So, for those that might not have been following along, 3 days ago, I'm recording this on Friday evening, so 4 days ago when you're all watching this, the Skenes debut patch was found. Breaking the Skenes patch has been found in LA. It was pulled by an 11-year-old in Los Angeles. And then, immediately the internet was like, oh, yep, sure. It was pulled off camera. Are you kidding me? What? No. An 11-year-old, they can't afford a glass of milk. How do you want them to buy a hobby box? This is just nonsense. More information comes out that it was a one hobby box, and it appears that it was a Christmas gift. This is what we know at the time. Fast forward a day. Or 2 days. Card gets walked into PSA. More on this in a few minutes. Gets put through the express super high-end walkthrough service. I would love to know what that card cost to grade. It had to be a small fortune. But it literally gets walked through at PSA. It's graded in a couple hours. How do we know this? Ryan Hogue, president at PSA on Twitter, posted it on Twitter. This was earlier today on Friday. You can see he has a photo holding the card in the mag from Topps. And then 3 hours later, it is in a PSA 10 slab. And it even has the little geo tags on here to show that it was at the PSA offices and it did indeed start raw. I'm sure Ryan spent many hours in Photoshop doctoring this to try to fool the hobby. In between all this, what came out today was the kid wrote a journal entry about pulling the card and the whole experience. Topps posted it on social, and the internet had a field day with this one as well. I do enjoy the prices did not drop in all caps. I am not going to sit here and give you the pleasure of a live read of an 11-year-old's journal, but you could find this on Topps Instagram page. It is worth the read. It is very funny. People freak out about this. And then the creme de la creme, the icing on the cake of this was almost like a double whammy because it happened around the same timing. The journal comes out. I think this actually happened first, and then the journal came out like an hour later. The kid is going to sell the card. It is his dream to pull it, and it must have been his dream to sell it because it is going to, guess who's selling it? Fanatics Collect. Like I said, from a conspiracy theory standpoint, you could not draw this up any more perfect for people to just go on a absolute feeding frenzy. Here's what I think. Well, actually, here's what you all think. I ran a little, YouTube poll as I am liked to do. This ran for 5 hours, has 200 votes, so not the biggest sample size in the world, but probably gives a decent representation of my audience. 41% legit poll, 40%, 100% nonsense, 19% not sure. I ran one of these on Twitter. It's Twitter skewed. It had way less votes because I don't have anywhere near as big of a following on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. It had way less votes, but it was skewed a little more heavy on the legit poll, a little less so on the 100% nonsense. I think it was like 50-30 or something like that. I forget the exact numbers, but the YouTube poll had more traction to it. So I went with that one. So about half of you think this is legit, half of you think this is fake. And like I said, boy, did they line this thing up for the tinfoil hat brigade to go wild. You mount up, clear out the Sam's Club, the Costco, and Amazon. You're going to need all the tinfoil for this one. I like a good conspiracy theory as much as the next person, but I just feel like I could separate reality from tinfoil a little bit better. I don't know. So what do I think happened here? Personally, this is my take on it, and then I'll probably go on a little mini rant. I think the kid legit pulled it. I think that 100% happened. If it was pulled around Christmas and then they redeemed it, it usually takes tops a couple of weeks to fulfill a redemption. It ended up at PSA in late January, about a month after Christmas. The timeline checks out. Now, we'll talk more about the PSA visit in a minute, but so I think the kid legit pulled it. I honestly do. I think the kid legit pulled it, and I think the parents were very smart and said, this is probably going to be a mess. I don't want my kid front and center holding a whatever this thing is going to be, $500,000, $1 million card, whatever it is, and getting all that crazy attention as an 11-year-old. Smart play by the parents. Actually smart. Not, running him out there as the face of the franchise. Now, that also being said, yes, I think the kid pulled it. I also think from the time that it was redeemed a month ago, and that whenever Topps and Fanatics found out that it was a kid that pulled it, and that it was a Christmas gift, I think from that time, let's say it's been a month. Let's say they found out the day after New Year's. I think they literally went on a retreat somewhere. They flew to a cabin in the woods, locked themselves in it, and said, how can we market the ever-living hell out of this? How can we squeeze every last potential drop from this pull, from this story? A kid pulled it. Oh my God, marketing dream. And they sat there and figured out every single little angle that they could to make this thing work. To get as much traction out of humanly possible. If the kid was public, they probably would have had Livy deliver the card herself to hand off to the kid. If they could have pulled it off, if they wanted the kid to be public. They probably said, okay, you don't want the kid public? Cool. Can you have him write something that we could put out there for people to see and read and hear the story of the pull without actually exposing who this person actually is? Then, it gets walked into PSA. Let's talk about that for a second. There is already chatter floating around. Did you hear? Did you hear? It was a Fanatics employee that walked it in the PSA. Fanatics just walked it straight into PSA. Guess what? They probably did. PSA said, before that even came out, it was submitted by a third party. Don't forget, a year ago, when they announced the debut patch, and I have the video, Fanatics also announced White Glove Redemption. that all debut patches would be treated as part of a new white glove redemption process, where when you redeem it, they would essentially reach out to you with your varying options and take care of the grading process if you chose to go that route. So that's not surprising that Fanatics was the ones that delivered it to the grading office. That's probably how a lot of the debut patches are delivered to grading. If you pull a debut patch, even not the Skenes, what did Junior Caminero sell for? Like 50,000? Are you really going to have Topps ship that to you and then you take it and send it to PSA or walk it in the PSA? Why wouldn't you just have Topps send it straight to PSA themselves? And in this case, they probably flew it there themselves. This is the biggest card in the world. There's no way they're dropping that thing in the mail. It's not that like world shattering that a Fanatics employee potentially walked this thing into PSA. It's literally the service that they've offered for a year. Now, like I said, maybe they don't fly every single one there, but I bet you for the super crazy ones, they do. Grades a 10-10. I haven't seen the card in hand. I have no idea if it's a legitimate grade or not. It's probably at least in pretty decent shape. If it was majorly jacked up, I don't think PSA is going to risk the reputation throwing a 10 on it. Maybe they would. Who knows? You know, there's the Wemby Black 1/1 that was Kurtz juiced that they did not deactivate. Is what it is, but it gets the 10-10. And then the final piece of the equation is I must have closed it. Oh, it's right. The Fanatics Collect aspect of it, that they are going to be the ones to auction it off. And I should note, they do say all proceeds of this are going to go to the LA Strong, one of the LA Fire charities. That any money that they make from the sale is going to go to that. Like I said, it is... You could not write a better script in Hollywood for this thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if they wrote the script in Hollywood once they found out the kid pulled it. I think the kid pulling it is 100% legitimate. I think all this other nonsense is master marketing. And that's get spoilers. It's exactly what they should do. Fanatics and Topps, I know this might be a shock to you all, is a business. They are designed to make money. How businesses make money, a big chunk of that is marketing. Do you know what's good marketing? A good story. Was it embellished a little bit here and there? Was it pumped up a little bit here and there? Maybe. I have zero inside information on this thing. None whatsoever. Nothing. I'm just going off of gut feel here. I think the kid pulled it. And then I think from there, the marketing team called up, David Chase and was like, hey, buddy, write us a story. They went to Hollywood and said, figure this thing out. We want the most compelling marketing campaign you have ever seen in your life around every single aspect of this card. The kid doesn't want to be public. The family doesn't want the kid to be public. Great. Keep it quiet. Here's the parameters that we have to work in. How do we maximize this? Oh, you know what would be cute? A handwritten letter from the kid about the pull. That would be the cutest thing in the world. Fire it up. I mentioned this when the card was initially pulled. I did a video on a Wednesday night or whatever when the news came out. You cannot have it both ways. People freak out every time a big breaker hits one of these cards. Whatever it is, whatever the chase card is, a breaker hits one. Everyone wants to run to the internet and be like, this is the most rigged thing ever. Oh my God. Loaded box, this, that, and the other thing. And maybe some of that nonsense goes on. I have no idea. I'm sure some of it does. But every hit ever is a conspiracy theory. Oh, yep. They had to give their favorite breaker a hookup on this one. How come, this is what you'll hear. Of course a breaker hits it. How come a normal person never hits it? Why doesn't a kid ever pull this stuff? Why? You notice how everything's always hit on camera? Boy, that's convenient, isn't it? Fast forward to the Skenes. It's hit off camera. Now what's everyone saying? Oh my God, can you believe they weren't recording this? How do we not have video of this? Are you actually kidding me? It's 2025, guys. There's no video of this card. What? Please. Planted. Oh my goodness. Totally fake. Like, guys, you can't have it both directions. You can't say every time a breaker pulls one, it's a conspiracy theory. And then when a breaker doesn't pull one, it's also a conspiracy theory. When is it not a conspiracy theory? At what point? Tell me in the comments down below, when can a big card, I'm not just talking about like a Skenes out of 99 Sapphire auto with a bad corner. When can a big card, a 101 debut patch, some super crazy RPA, whatever, some other big 101, when can it be pulled that it is under the correct circumstances? That something won't be tinfoil hatted. Explain it to me. What is the, because if a breaker pulls it, it's a conspiracy theory. If a kid pulls it off camera, it's a conspiracy theory. So when is it not? Explain to me the perfect set of circumstances where a card like this could be pulled and there's no shenanigans around it. I would like for you to explain that to me, how that could even possibly happen. Because I don't understand how it could if you're going to complain about it being pulled on camera when that happens, and then you're also going to complain about it being pulled off camera, in this case, when this happens. Most of them are pulled on camera. Do you know why? Because most boxes are opened on camera, or at least a lot of them. Most hobby and jumbo boxes, and especially the high-end stuff, because the breakers move most of the product these days. Yes, boxes are expensive. How does a kid afford a box of Topps Chrome? Who knows? I go to shows all the time. Spoilers, some of the 11-year-olds have better cards than I do. It's not that far-fetched that an 11-year-old kid can afford a $350 box of Topps Chrome Hobby. And by the way, he didn't even buy it. His parents bought it for him for Christmas. And everyone's like, oh my God, no one can afford to buy this stuff. Spoilers, a lot of people can't afford to buy this stuff. Just because you can't afford it doesn't mean everyone can't afford it. A lot of people can afford to buy this stuff. It might be harsh. I don't know what else to tell you. But I don't understand how are we that broken that there is no situation where a big card can be pulled and there's not going to be some sort of external drama behind this? I don't know what the perfect set of circumstances is. It could be on camera, but it can't be on camera. What do you guys want? And look at the way people have reacted to this. Would you want your kid, I don't care how old they are, they could be 17, they could be 7. I'm not even a parent. I've never raised a kid in my life. There is no way I would want my kid being the face of this thing. They would probably say he was a Topps employee's kid or something. He'd be, back in the day, you'd go to school and the kid at school, his uncle worked at Nintendo or something. It'd be like that. It'd be like, oh yeah, that kid's uncle works for Topps. You know who that kid's uncle is? Mike Mahan. His cousin's Ryan Hogue. They're all in on it together. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? I get it. There is a lot of nonsense out there. Do not get me wrong. There is. And the Tinfoil Hat Brigade has been correct on a large chunk of it. I don't think Topps and Fanatics is going to risk it all to establish this huge plot to concoct some big story behind this card. I don't. If that ever got out, that would be it. Do you think they just registered that Topps made $1.6 billion with a B for Fanatics last year? Do you think they're going to risk that all on some hocus pocus story and fake how a kid pulled a card and roll all this stuff out there? If that ever got out, it would be the end of the company. No one would ever buy anything again. You think they're going to risk $1.6 billion for a good week and a half of marketing? Come on. And I'm probably preaching the people have already made up their mind about this before they looked at anything. It didn't matter. There is no logic or reason for some people. And if that's you, more power to you. But I don't understand the logic of a $1.6 billion company risking it all to fabricate a story about a kid pulling a card that they get, I don't know, a 5-day news cycle out of, maybe a week. The news cycle on this started on Wednesday. It's going to carry through the weekend. Everyone's going to talk about it. Everyone will react to it over the next 5 days or so. Everyone will do their little podcasts and their videos and their Instagram posts, and it'll run through a decent chunk of next week. And then guess what? It's going to be on to the next thing. So they're going to risk the entire reputation of the company for, let's call it 14. We'll call it 14 days. We'll give them 2 full weeks of marketing to some degree or another. You really think they're that stupid? Like I said, do I think the kid pulled it? Yes. Do I think a lot of the stuff after was blown out of proportion for marketing? Also, yes. Did Fanatics slide in there and strike a deal with them to get the sale as well? Maybe. Maybe they did. Guess what? Better to be first. They were the first in the door. They knew before anybody else. Now, there is an angle here that you could take as well. Okay. It was redeemed. We don't know when it was redeemed. I'm assuming it was redeemed shortly after they pulled it, and then it took a couple weeks to get the redemption processed and everything. Maybe they expedited it a little bit, whatever. I don't know. I'm curious for your thoughts and comments on this one. We'll see how this one plays out in the comment section. I'm sure some people will be angry at me for this one, but this is just how I think that it rolled. If I thought there was a bunch of nonsense here, I'd be the first one to call it out. I am no friend to Tops and Fanatics. But I also don't think a company is going to risk everything on a good marketing story for 10 days of press. Maybe I'm naive. Eventually, someone will find out. If this was all fake, at some point in time, someone will talk. And then you could say, I told you so. That's it. That's all I got for you, boys and girls, today. This one's going to wear a lot of people out. This is going to get played out. Everyone's going to have a take on it. Everyone's going to be talking about it. That's all I got for you, boys and girls. Catch you on the next one. Peace.